Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Justin and Savannah here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is day 2 of RU204. And hopefully you already caught day 1, where we went over the basics of setting, getting, and updating JSON objects within Redis. And today we are going to actually look at some code with Python and JavaScript. It's very
Oh,
exciting. How are you doing today? It looks a little cold over there.
doing good. It's a little chilly. 52 outside here outside Atlanta, but it's chilly. But I really hate turning the heat on, especially because we have a screened-in patio that the cats like to go out on. So I like to leave the door open. So I just
Wow.
bundle up.
Right, right. That's smart. That's very smart. It's also cold here. It's 34. But
Ooh, that is a lot colder.
the cats don't go out in the catio, so they're just staying inside. They're right next to the central heating.
Right. Yeah.
um, So yeah, this course, RU204, is on Redis University for anybody that wants to go ahead and check it out. It's RU204, indexing, querying, and storing JSON at speed. And it's kind of like an extension of a previous course, creating secondary indexes within Redis, where you can actually search through your hash documents, your hash data types. Only this one is with JSON. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you're watching live, please feel free to drop a comment in YouTube or Twitch and say hello. Otherwise, if you're watching this syndicated on YouTube, thank you for watching. And yeah, again, leave a comment if you have any questions, or if you'd like an even faster response and talk to more than just Savannah and I, go ahead and go over to our Discord channel at discord.gg/Redis, where we're all just hanging out. Well, we're not just hanging out, but we're there to answer questions. And we love having chats. And if you have like a deeper concern or question or a thread of thinking that you want to share with anybody about Redis, we're more than happy to listen and to respond and hopefully point you in the right direction. So, all right, it is now time to start. We now have a cat. That means it can start. That's not Smokey. Who is that?
This is Summit. He's only got 3
Summit.
legs.
Beautiful. Oh, my orange tabby is around here somewhere. He hides whenever I talk loudly on stream, so
Oh,
we
this
probably won't see him.
this is like a calling card for him. He gets on the back of my chair during meetings all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're talking? Let me come be in your way."
That's adorable. That's adorable. Well, hopefully that he'll be able to like start storing JSON at speed.
Yeah.
All right, so the first section I want to share with everybody is RU204 section 2.1. And basically this is going over, what we do to make it easier for you to code with Redis. There are a lot of different client libraries that that are for Redis with different programming languages. And we're not going to say that there's, any that are better or worse than any other ones. That's not really the point. What we did do is we picked one and we built Redis OM on top of it. So the ones that we're going to be demonstrating today are important because they're the ones that we kind of use with Redis OM. You can use another client library, but this one we kind of just we picked and we ran with it. So yeah, and we have client libraries for Python, Node.js, Java, C#, lots of other ones too. But these are the top 4 languages that we chose to kind of actively support and create OM libraries on top of. And just to list them real quick: Redis Py for Python, Node Redis for Node.js, Jedis for Java, and Stack Exchange.redis for C#. And I do believe all of those currently allow us to work with JSON with Redis. And if not, then we can always just run manual commands, which is fine. So this one's not going to be a super long stream because we're just going to kind of go over the code and show you how this works. But we're first going to go over just the client libraries, and then afterwards we'll show you each Redis OM on top of Python and JavaScript. I'll go over JavaScript, and Savannah will go over Python. So first things first, let me show you. This is a repository for RU204. Make that a little bit bigger for you. And I definitely recommend that you check this out for your specific language. But it's also just good to have because it'll actually help you populate a sample database with books, book objects to play with. But under here, under source and then Node.js, we have 3 folders: Node Redis example, Redis OM example, and Redis OM search example. And the first one we're going to look at is Node Redis example. This is just a client library used to send Redis commands to the Redis database on JavaScript. So if you need help in instructions getting this installed, go ahead and click on the README. It's very well written, and it'll walk you through the steps needed to actually get your Redis up and running and this actual file, because it does require an environment variable of your location, your endpoint of your database. So also, I want to check with package.json real quick just to show you what we're working with. We are using Redis. This is the actual Node Redis version 4.2.0. And looks like the latest version is 4.5, but this one actually works, so that's fine. Just if you're keeping score at home. Okay, so show me the code. Let's go to the top. We're importing create client from Redis, the library. We're creating a book key variable, and this is just going to be a key that we're going to use to store into Redis. This is just a bunch of scaffolding real quick here. We actually have a book object. It's a sample book object, and it's just a JSON object with author, ID, description, editions, genres, and inventory. And this is just a really good representative JSON object of how we're going to store objects in our database. So we have strings, we have numerics, we have an array of strings, and we also have an array of objects. And we also have just a regular object. So all the different scenarios of how you would actually store data within a JSON. All right, so that's good. So now let's actually connect to Redis. So right here, the Redis URL, it's actually looking at the environment variable for Redis URL. In this case, it's just going to be my local host because I'm running on a Docker image. And I'm running Redis stack, by the way. I recommend that you also as well. Just so much easier, and you get everything that you actually want in one package. At line 41 here, we are actually creating the client, and you can pass in a lot of different options if you so choose, such as security, encoding, things like that, user. But right now, it's just a local sandbox. So we're just passing in the URL, which is, of course, this Redis URL up here. After that, we actually call connect on Redis. So we're connected to it. And then if that key exists from us playing with it previously, it deletes it. And that's all you have to do, r.del, del for delete. And then here we go. We're actually storing a JSON object. And it's very similar to the Redis CLI where I was calling JSON.set. So let response equals await r.json.set. And then I pass in the key first, just like the command line interface. You pass in the key, and then the $, and then the actual JavaScript object. So that's pretty simple. It's very similar to the Redis CLI, and that's by design because we want everything to be very easy and a joy and a pleasure to actually code. After that, we'll respond with the response. We'll actually print out the response. And then we're creating a new variable, response equals await r.json.get. So now we're actually getting something from the database. So we're passing in the same key. And then you'll notice the second argument is an object with a path variable, which is an array of, it looks like JSON path expressions. So $.author, $.metrics.score. So that means that it's passing in two two different fields that it's requesting, and it's wanting the author. And then again, with JSON path expressions, that dot is just the child. So it wants, here's author, and then here's metrics.score. So I'm hoping to see the author and 2.3. And hopefully we'll see that. And then it'll actually send out that response. So we'll actually be able to see how it is encoded. And then here, we're actually calling r.json.num increby. So it's calling that increment function. We have the key as the first argument. The second argument is what we actually want to increment. So it's calling $.metrics.rating votes. And this third one is the argument is how much you want to actually increment it. So this will be incrementing that value by 1. And then we'll respond, or we'll console out what actually we got back. Lastly, we'll be calling the JSON.rAppend function, where, if you remember, it appends to the end of the array whatever you want. So in this case, it looks like we're calling the book key first. We're appending to $.inventory. And then we're appending this object here, which is just a simple JavaScript object with status and stock ID. And this is actually a lot easier than the Redis CLI, because we don't have to actually encase things in single quotes and make sure everything is double quoted. So it is just actually a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, it's JavaScript, so I'm just used to like seeing it like this. It's a little bit less clunky. So
plus, if you're like me and you make spelling mistakes very often and you're using a handy dandy IDE, you're much more likely to catch your spelling mistakes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Yeah. And depending on if you're using a terminal or a Redis Insight, terminals can be a little clunky to work around in. Redis Insight's more forgiving. But yeah. All right. So we did a couple of fun little commands here. And then at the end, of course, we did some good housekeeping, r.disconnect. So.
Oh, man, look at you and your housekeeping.
I do believe Simon actually wrote this one. So Simon is very, very tidy. He's a very tidy programmer. All right, everything looks fantastic. So I do believe I'll give this a run. Just npm start. And all right, let's look at this fantastic response here. Connecting to Redis at Redis, that's my local host. Book stored, okay. So that was this first one. This is my first response. Take note that you actually do not receive the object back. You just get an okay, because Redis is interested in being fast. So you don't really need to get back what you requested or what you sent in. And then for the second one, where we're getting something specifically from JSON, where we wanted to get just the author and metric score, here we go, author and score. And then we have, and this is encased in an object with the path.
Oh.
What's up?
No, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting it to give me the path back.
Yeah, I think that it's because, yeah. I bet there is a way that we'd be able to change the wording of that, or change the like an alias.
No, I mean, that's nice. I mean, if you were getting two fields back that were the same type, if you get two numbers back, it's nice to have them labeled all the time. I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it is nice. The actual values came back encased in square brackets, so that's also really, really good to know. So that is basically what to expect.
Yeah.
When you're receiving a response. And then we're going to look at num increby. It says rating votes incremented to, and then just the pure response. Now this one is interesting because the pure response is just 13. So cool. If it's just a number, then I guess we can expect it just to be a single integer, not encased in brackets. And then lastly, we are calling array append to the $.inventory array. And so that will make the total size 3. And I remember this because when you call array append in a Redis command line, you actually just get the length of it back as a
Yeah.
convenience. So there we go. Yeah, so everything actually works out, and this shouldn't be too much of a drastic jump or change from just the Redis command line. And
Yeah.
that's kind of why we like to, walk through the Redis command line. Like a lot of the explainer code that we have, a lot of explainer videos, it's the Redis command line because it's language agnostic, and B, a lot of our Redis clients basically mimic the command line interface. So cool. So now, do you want to share the Python Redis example?
Sure.
Awesome. Let me relinquish control. And first, let's say hello to some people. So hello, Vidraz. Nice to see you. Paulo, hello. Hey, good to see you as well. Thank you very much for showing up. And then Suze is with us. Hi, Suze. Thank you for watching. We were just talking.
Clothing that I own. It's made to be. It's like lined with Sherpa fleece. It's cozy.
That looks amazing. Yeah, I think I might have to get one as well. Maybe we can get Redis to send out some Redis branded swag.
Ooh, yeah. Get everyone Redis branded hoodies.
Oh, that'd be great.
And another hello. Hello, thanks for joining.
Oh, hey, welcome.
So I will share mine, and you'll notice it starts off pretty much the same. We've got a nice book key, RU204. If you've joined since we started this, we are running through the Redis University 204 course on JSON. So we've now got our lovely example JSON. We've got our same book. It looks pretty much the same because it's still a JSON and we are using the same IDE. So lots of similarities here. And now we've got the Redis URL. It's checking to see if we've got an OS environment variable. Otherwise, it's got our local host. We've got print statements. I love printf statements in Python. They're very fun. You can just like sort of throw variables into these curly brackets and it'll print. It's the newer version of like a print dot format and putting variables in there. It's just an F string instead of having to do that dot format. So we're connecting r equals Redis from URL with that Redis URL. We're checking, we're going to delete any previous books. Then we're going to set our book and print if it gets stored, which hopefully it should. And we're going to do pretty much the same things here. So we've got our response equals r.json. Here you'll notice that is a difference in, oh, I didn't make this very large, did I? That's okay though. So in the Python client, you've got these parentheses, is the word I was looking for. For the JSON, you've got those for quite a few of the Python modules. So like if you want to do the Bloom filter commands, you have to do r.bf open close parentheses dot then all of the commands. But we're then just going to add the dot get. Our book key, which is defined up at the top. We're going for the author and the metric score. We'll print those in the response. So we'll print author and score. That way we know what our data is telling us, because there are definitely times where I think I'm debugging something and I add a print statement and it prints and I'm just like, I don't know what that number is. There's 5 numbers here and none of them were labeled.
Buggy debugging.
So we will then do num anchor by our book key, our metrics rating votes by 1 as well. Print that out. And here you'll see that we're printing out our response at 0. So we get back, a list as a response. And so we're only looking at the first part of that. And then we'll add another copy of the book to the inventory. We'll do that same R append, that same JSON structure, and we'll see how many copies are there after we do that. So let's go for Python 3. I probably need to find the right directory. Let's see. the source Python Redis Py example. And now when I do Python 3 and start typing, it'll complete for me. There we go. So we got stored true. Ooh, so we got true. We don't get okay, we get true.
Very nice.
When we get the author and score, we get that same thing. We get like a an object with the metric score, that 2.3. Then we will check out our response for how many votes we have now. So it's been incremented to 13. Once we do that R append, there are now 3 copies of the book in the inventory.
Beautiful.
Checks out.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love comparing and contrasting JSON or just JavaScript and Python because it's very easy to switch over. We could demonstrate some C#, but it's just you can understand it. But I look at it, I'm just like, there's just so much extraneous crushed.
C# has never been my language of choice.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's great at it. He's fantastic, and I've watched his streams. And it all makes perfect sense. It looks very clean, but wow, it's a lot of ways to say like this is a variable. Yeah, no, all programming languages are great. There's no, I just have preferences. So yeah, let me show you Ohm. First, actually, let's take a look at, we actually have a section that we should look at because we're all good students. So now that we're done with this, we can go to introducing the Redis Ohm clients. So basically, we've decided, we being Redis, to make implementing JSON and query and search easier. And so we created an object relational mapping client called Ohm, object mapping. It's similar to, I'll say it, MongoDB's Mongoose, or any other kind of ORM that you're used to with your language of choice. And yeah, it's worked on by a lot of us in the DevRel team, which is really exciting. So this is also a living, breathing client. So there are changes going on right now. I can guarantee you that one of us is working on it right now. Probably listening to music and eating a bag of chips or something like that. But we're working on it. So there are open issues and there are pull requests and there's like, constant conversation going on. So if you see that there's an opportunity or an improvement, or if you just have any questions, again, go over to Discord and chat with us because we're all on there. We're more than happy to talk. Or go ahead and go to the actual, repositories for these OM clients and go through the issues. And if you see one that you have, give it a +1 or something. Or if you want to submit a new issue, by all means, create a new issue. Also, this is open source, so take a look at the code. See if you want to take a stab at it. Because
we were talking about C# and writing all that code, and there's a lot to it. But even like the Redis core that's written in C, it's very readable. It's very yeah. You can go take a look. You can see how things work that you might have thought differently. And then the client libraries are mostly written in that. So like the Redis Py library is mostly written in Python. Same for like the OM Python client, it's Python code. So if you see an issue that you think you can solve, you can open your own pull request and try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, when I first started working here, I went through the Redis core code base a lot, and it's really nice. It's really, really nice. I give praise to the originators of Redis and Tires for just writing clean code. It's just such a pleasure. Okay, so that's enough standing for my own company. I will now show you some code with Redis Ohm. Now, this is a little bit more complex than just Node Redis because it is preparing us for consistency and for search and querying. So we need to actually have a little bit more of like a Rails, not the framework Rails, but just guidelines. And we want to stay on some Rails to have consistent naming convention and consistent fields and properties within our JSON or our hashes. But in this case, it's going to be JSON. So we're actually going to be creating schemas, which hopefully some of you have had experience with when you have to create schemas with MongoDB and Mongoose. But yeah, we're going to be now importing client, entity, and schema from Redis Ohm up top here. And again, let's look under the hood what we're actually using. Trying to find GNOME. Sorry, just trying to find where we installed. Oh, Redis Ohm, right there. It's version 0.3.6. So if you're wanting to reproduce this on your own from scratch, just know that we're using 0.3.6. We're not at 1 yet because we're still building it out. So cool. All right, so a lot of this up top here should be kind of self-evident. We're creating a new client, a new Redis client, and then we're opening it with our URL or our environment variable. This could be, of course, localhost on a Docker image, or this could be in the cloud with the Redis cloud. And then class book extends entity. So now here, we're going to be creating like a universal book model, you could say. And we're going to be passing that into a schema. So this schema is going to contain all of the properties and fields, or the properties that we want to have in our objects. So these can be as rigid or as optional as you want. As we progress with the course, they'll get a little bit more rigid. But what this basically does is set up an expectation for what the JSON objects are going to be. So the author, as you see here, is going to be type string. So ID is going to be a string. Description, which is like a paragraph about the book, is going to be a string. Now genres is going to be a string with square brackets at the end. Ooh. So then basically that's just saying, hey, I'm going to be an array of strings. So nothing too new. Pages is just going to be a number. Title is just a string. URL is a string. Year published is a number. And it is important to note, Redis Ohm node does not yet support embedded objects. So the metrics object has been flattened to the following two fields, and we have omitted the inventory array of objects for the same reason. So again, we are on version 0.3.6, and we are right now working on this client library. So we don't yet have embedded objects within our JavaScript Ohm client, but that's not a problem. We still have Redis Ohm.
Yeah.
And we have a Node Redis. So yeah, here we have rating, votes, and score. So those were two two properties within an embedded object that we previously called metrics, but we're just flattening it. So yeah. And then after the actual definition of what's going to be inside the JavaScript object, we're including this object here, this secondary object prefix, which is basically saying, hey, when we're creating these books, I want it to have the prefix in the key of RU204 : Redis Ohm node : book. Cool. Whew. So that was creating the schema. That's basically saying, hey, we're going to create all these JSON objects with this expected structure. And this will make more sense, and this will come into utility more as we're working on indexing and search, because search expects a certain type of field to be able to index it or use it properly with tags or things like that.
Yeah. Makes sense if I want to search for, a number, I probably want it to know that it's a number. That way I can use like less than and greater than. And
Exactly. So like number ranges, if you want to find books within like, 500 or 600 pages, a good beach book,
yeah,
you want to know that they're numbers. So book repository is going to be another feature where basically we pass in that book schema, and this is just an entire system to start creating books, and then finding books. So this is like basically you can see the final connection after you've created the schema. So all that to say, let's create a new book. So new book equals book repository dot create entity. And we're passing in just an object literal, in this case, a book object. So author, ID, description. Notice that genres is it's an array of strings. Pages is a number. Year published, rating, votes, and score. Those are all numbers. And then title and URL are both strings. So at this point, we have create entity. And then what it does, it creates a local ULID, and that is just like a unique identifier. And we can actually look at that because we already created it within this book repository create entity. So this is I don't think we've actually seen this yet, but it's an interesting. It's like a hash ID. It's a GUI ID. So once we have that, we can actually save. This right here is what actually saves it to our Redis database, and we just pass in that new book. So book repository.save new book. After that, we're going to retrieve that book. So we have book repository.fetch, and it looks like we're fetching by the ID. So this actually, we pass in the ID, and this is just like fetch by ID. There are other ways of actually searching and stuff like that, but we'll do that later on. And then we'll actually respond back, and we'll print it out, and we'll call to JSON, and we'll get that response. And then we can actually update some variables. So you see here, a book is the actual book that we retrieved. We're setting the a book author to something different, and then we're updating it. So that's all you actually have to do to update JSON within Redis OM, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
And then update a book, we'll receive it again with the same ID, and then we'll print it back in the JSON format. And then again, good housekeeping, we'll close the client. So let's actually run this. All right, so we have two objects here. New book ULID. So this is the actual ID, the unique identifier. This is magically generated for us. And again, at this point, I haven't saved my document yet. So this is just right up here. It's just automatically assigned this object, and then once I save it, everything is committed to the database. So I save it here, saved book in Redis, right there. And then when we retrieve it right here to JSON, this is what we receive back. And there you go. So nothing really has changed. It just now includes this generated entity ID for us. And then when I change it from Redis staff to Redis University here, and then save it, and then retrieve it and print it back, again, you can see there's our object from our database.
There it is.
Yeah. Again, hopefully this should be very, very like straightforward and basic for a lot of people, because this is some baby steps, and we'll ramp up with our search. But yeah, so that's basically it for Redis. There are lots of other commands that you'll want to check out within the Redis JavaScript Redis OM repository. There's a lot of walkthroughs and tutorials on how to do a lot of different things.
Oh yeah.
I would highly recommend that. So yeah, That is JavaScript, Redis OM. And let's see here. A question: how is local UUID unique? How is it unique? I'm not quite sure what algorithm they use to actually generate it, but I'd have to actually look under the hood of the code base for Redis OM. But that's a good question. I'll try to find out offline, and I'll find out for you. So yeah, that was Redis OM for JavaScript. You want to throw what's going on with Python?
I'm going to throw out here. Python is life.
Nice.
All async too. So Redis actually has a async client, basically. Instead of just importing Redis, you can import, I think it's redis.async.io or redis.async. It might just be redis.async. I just had it up, but I lost it.
For Python?
Yes, but either way, basically you can just import Redis as an async client, and then you can use the same like await keywords and everything for that. But you do have to import the async Redis. Very cool stuff. Yeah. So I will take the screen. I got to move my camera first. That way I don't give us tunnel vision. Okay. So you'll see, again, starting off very similar, but in Python, in the OM client, we do have embedded models. So we've got the JSON model as well as the embedded JSON model here that we're importing. So we've got our metrics class, and we're defining it as an embedded JSON model. As it goes in most programming, if I'm going to use my embedded JSON model down here, or metrics here, I have to define it above. That way this metrics knows what it's talking about. So we've got our metrics and our inventory items as embedded models. And then similarly, we're defining the types of each. These are all Pydantic models. So anything that you can use with Pydantic, you can use with the OM client here. Again, we've got a list of strings, and here you'll see that we even have a list of our embedded JSON model. So that's pretty cool. And then here you can see the positive int, the any HTTP URL. Those are from Pydantic, and that positive float as well. And then we've got our little extra configuration to specify how to generate key names. So we've got our global key name prefix is that RU204, Redis OM Python, and our model key prefix is book. So then we will create an instance of the book model, and you just call it a book. You give it that keyword. I guess it's not quite a keyword, but it kind of is. It's now a keyword. We've made it a keyword with the author, ID, description, genres as a list of strings. Here you can see the inventory as a list of inventory items, and our metrics embedded JSON as well. All of those clearly, numbers are clearly numbers, strings are clearly strings. It's one of the nice things about good IDEs is that it makes it clear, helps keep you on track, helps keep things clear for you. So then we will get the locally generated ULID for this book, which is this new book.pk. I'm not actually sure what the PK stands for. I thought it would be something like private key, but that's definitely not. It's definitely not a private key. Maybe like a public key?
Or primary key?
Primary key. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Either way, then we will do our new book.save. We've saved the book in Redis. We'll get it using that PK. That primary makes a lot of sense. It's probably primary. So we'll get that new book from the primary key. We'll print it out. And then we will do our abook.author set to Redis University. Save it. Updated the author. And then we will get that same book with our, well, quote unquote, the same book. We've changed it. So is it really the same book anymore?
You're getting meta.
And so I will back out to the Redis OM example and we'll see what happens. Oh no. Oh. No module named Redis OM. I am in the wrong environment for that, but that's okay. We'll go Python 3-m pip install Redis OM. There we go. So you'll notice here that ours aren't quite as pretty over here in Python world. We do not have, I don't think it has that to JSON functionality yet. So instead of that nicely formatted thing you get back in Node, here you've just got all the information you could possibly need. And by that, I mean all of the information you explicitly told it to store. But yeah, so we've got our new book ULID. We've saved it. We retrieved it. There it all is. And you can see here, like the inventory is a list of inventory items. So you've got the inventory item nested in the inventory. Same with the metrics. You've got those parentheses around all of those values. And because they are embedded JSON models, they do have their own primary keys. Just, so you know. I don't think I've ever used the embedded primary key.
I haven't. I've created some embedded objects with my bird tracking stream, and I don't think that I'll ever have to use them. They're just there.
Yeah. And then we updated the author, and you can see it is now Redis University, and everything else is the same. Hopefully.
Awesome.
I didn't actually read all of it, but I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I didn't compare all the characters or anything. But.
So yeah, that looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm currently using Redis OM for Python for my stream, and it's such a pleasure. I only use that just because I know that I can write up code really, really quick and just get stuff done super fast. But yeah, it looks great. And then yeah, Methlic asked, how are those objects? How do they look in Redis Insight? They look beautiful. Glad you asked.
We've got our list. So these ... dots mean we can expand it. So here's our list of genres. And I'll expand this metrics. And then here we've got a list of embedded objects. So it's very user-friendly, very readable in Insight as well.
Yeah.
You've got this nice key up here.
Oh, and speaking of which, I was doing some quick hunting within the code base, at least for Redis OM for Node, and I found where we actually, I'm going to put in our chat a link to the actual source for where we get the ULID. We actually pull it from an NPM package ULID. So I'll also copy that in. And beyond that, it's up for grabs as far as how you want to decipher that NPM package. Yeah, that's where it's from. Well, cool. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing with us the Redis OM for Python. And then, yeah, if anybody here would like to respond with their own video of demonstrating the C# package or the Java package,
yeah,
please go ahead. That'd be really cool. It doesn't always have to be us, and we can share your video out there. And let's see here. I think I have. One second here. There we go. I just wanted to share that if you want to see more quality information from the actual designers of Redis OM, we have this video, Redis Monthly Live. This is a live stream that Guy and I used to do. I used to co-host and help produce, and then Guy was the main VJ, I believe the term is. But yeah, these are all the four horsemen of Redis OM, and they're talking about their different clients. So definitely give a look into that. And I'm going to paste the video into our chat as well. Yeah, this is really good. This is a pretty long video because they all have the mic and they're all talking about their courses. So it would behoove you.
They're all very rightfully proud of the work that they put into all of these. So
oh, absolutely, yeah,
they get
yeah.
soapboxes for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm super excited for them, and they've worked really, really hard. And there's a lot of unique challenges when creating an ORM from scratch.
Yeah. So. Another question: do we have any examples or courses of cross-language Redis OM compatibilities or capabilities? We do. I don't think we've done anything like that, like on camera.
No, no, we haven't. But that is an excellent idea. Maybe we'll do that down the line.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just sort of peck at the same Redis Cloud instance and see what happens.
Yeah.
And just like kind of test it to make sure everything works really well. Oh, we can just write up a series of tests just to ping pong it back. Yes, Meflick. I worry about how to make a common modeling for both lengths. Yeah, that is that's valid, and I think that worry is shared. So that's why.
That's probably why we haven't done anything like that on camera.
Yeah, we'll probably do some testing before we actually share with you
because you kind of have to play to the common denominator. So for instance, the Node OM client doesn't have embedded objects. Right. So I don't know that you could use my Python object that has embedded objects in it. Yeah,
that would be interesting. I mean, it could interpret it if it's like an embedded object. Maybe when adapting to Node Redis, it could flatten it.
Yeah, maybe.
To like a serialization. But I mean, if you tuned in yesterday, we don't like serialization. Ew.
Ew.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions and the praise. Tomorrow, we're going to be actually searching, which is really exciting. We'll be indexing and searching through all of our book documents to find interesting pieces of information. And what was your goal yesterday? What did you want to search?
I want to be able to find the longest book in our data set.
Okay, cool. I want to find all of the space operas because I love space operas.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, sorry it was a little off today as far as timing.
Was fun.
Oh, thanks, Mariano. I appreciate that. I had an appointment and I totally forgot about that, and I couldn't move it back. So thank you.
I did say same time, same place, and I was a little bit of a liar, but
tomorrow, I'm pretty sure that we can do this at the correct time that we said. So let me check.
So 2:30 Eastern time.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, that looks great. All right. Well, everybody, thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.